Nashville, City of Refuge, is made possible by the support of the HCA Foundation on behalf of HCA and the TriStar family of hospitals. The United States government grants entry to almost 70,000 refugees each year from around the world. Mid-sized American cities like Nashville, Tennessee, are increasingly popular refugee resettlement sites selected by the U.S. Department of State. These cities offer a lower cost of living, good employment opportunities, and many charitable volunteer agencies to support new refugee residents. Tennessee receives around 1,000 refugees each year. Most are relocated to Nashville, where refugees can build new lives, create opportunities, and find freedom. Nashville is a destination. Often, after many years of struggle and tragedy, it is a new home.
You come to this country with basically only your life. I remember very well, and I will never forget, when I came here, I had 2 bags with my clothing, my kids, and my wife, and nothing else. And today, it's a miracle. I live in American dream, and it's joyful.
If you work with a refugee population, absolutely, you have to love people, to love refugee. No discrimination. You don't look at what kind religion, you don't look at education background, political background, or social background. No, you have to first love people. Because if you discriminate people, you cannot help people.
Nashville has significant Kurdish, Somali, Sudanese, Laotian, and Vietnamese refugee populations. While these populations represent different cultural backgrounds, they all have experienced some form of persecution and displacement. But what does it mean to be a refugee?
My name is Barre Yogol, and I'm originally from Somalia. One of the main reasons that I fled from my home country was because there was civil war, and the government has been overthrown by rebels. When the warlords entered the city, I have lived up there. As a family, I need to move out there and then go to another city which is a little bit safer, hoping that the fighting will stop and then I'll be able to go back. But it did not stop right there, and I've been moving from one city to another. I finally end up on the Kenyan border.
When large numbers of refugees cross into a new country, they are often isolated into camps where they can receive basic human necessities. While refugees have the right to elemental care under international law, its administration is problematic and can quickly develop into a crisis situation. The United Nations World Food Program and humanitarian organizations like Doctors Without Borders try to mobilize immediate stabilizing relief to refugee camps worldwide.
In a refugee setting, when you have people moving in great numbers and finding themselves in very crowded conditions, this is not a voluntary movement. This is forced displacement. People don't want to flee their homes. People want to remain and to carry on a normal life. And it's really in last resort that they decide that they have no other option but to leave. And then they try to look for safety. It very much has to do with the way wars are being conducted today. Wars are taking place among the civilian population and hurting them, displacing them. Where can they go? If you cross an international border and you're fleeing war and persecution and violence, then you can be granted the status of refugee. And as a refugee, you have some rights, very basic ones. So being allowed to flee, that's the first basic right, and to seek safety in the neighboring country. And the second one, once you're there, is not to be forcibly returned against your will back into a place that is unsafe, to a war zone.
In living in a refugee camp, it's like in prison, really. Especially with living in Kenya, you cannot travel outside of the camp. And living in the camp, the jobs are limited. When I came to Kenya as a refugee, I still had the same fear because still the camp was not secure. The Kenyan government did their best, but because the camp was close to the border, gunmen will cross out and kill whoever they had to have to revenge. It was really difficult, changing your life from the house you have been living, the food you had, friends and family that you had. Everything was gone, and coming to the refugee camp and living basically what the UNHCR provides you, starting online to get your food. It was very hard to adjust in the beginning, and there was a lot of, I had a lot of headache honestly in the first couple of months. Seeing all that was very tough, but in the long run then I have realized that I have to make an adjustment and change the way I've been thinking. It was tough, but I adjusted myself and live in the camp. And of course, I was among one of the luckiest one. I've got a job. It wasn't a well-paid job, but it was definitely much better.
Life in a refugee camp often revolves around standing in line. Lines for food, water, latrines, and other necessities. Organizations such as the United Nations World Food Program provide daily rations with the goal of preventing starvation. In the United States, average individual water usage is 100 gallons per day. But food and water are fragile commodities in a refugee camp, and safe water is often limited to 2 gallons per person per day.
When you live in the refugee camp and you don't have any job or any activity that you have to do, it is so much heavy and burden to your mentality and thinking. When you know that you're healthy and you're capable of working or producing something or doing something, and you have nothing to do, just every day wake up in the same area, or sit down under the tree, or that really psychologically affects a lot of refugees. The exceptional or the lucky ones get the job. You feel more released from those stress and thinking of what I need to do every day, and you feel a little bit more happy and healthier. Make you feel like you have a sense of living a little bit in that camp.
Nashville's connection to the global plight of refugees is not only through its refugee citizens. Numerous university medical programs and nursing schools in Nashville provide volunteer health workers for organizations like Doctors Without Borders.
Doctors Without Borders was founded about 35 years ago now, really trying to reach out to people who are in acute need of help and where governments or local structures, response systems are failing or unable to help meet their needs. We can prevent people from dying in great numbers when they're displaced. So we're a medical organization first and foremost. We specialize in that, having medical personnel provide direct medical care to people, but also clean water and sanitation, shelter, and nutritional care as well. But we know that there's value and merit in helping people overcome a crisis, and we can make a real contribution in a very concrete, tangible way, but also our presence there is often a mark of failure. I mean, we're there because there's a real problem, and we're trying to address that one, and then our presence there helps alert and mobilize a broader solution to the issue.
Living in that camp for about 8 years, in refugee camp in Kenya, I've worked with the Doctors Without Borders, and the DAB has 3 camps. Each has about 40,000 refugees in each camp. I have been a witness of so many people who have been killed in the camp or injured in the camp, and there were so many rape, because in that camp people have to go out, especially women have to go out and try to get firewood in order to cook their food. And when they take that, when they go outside in the bush, they have been raped by gunmen, sometimes injured badly. And I have witnessed a lot of them being brought to the hospital that where I worked, to the emergency room. Life goes on with the refugees. It's like I lived up there and I have 2 kids. I got married, I had 2 children. When we had a baby, the first priority of that child is their health. And in a refugee camp, health was a problem. Even though they were a non-governmental organization like Doctors Without Borders or MSF, you can expect a lot of disease and a lot of sickness and all those things. And that was a challenge, and it was a concern having a children in the refugee camp.
Refugee camps are a temporary solution for a chronic problem. Disease, malnutrition, and unrest are constant threats. Throughout the world, there are an estimated 12 million refugees waiting for conflicts to end or durable solutions for living conditions. In some camps, refugees have lived for more than 30 years. These are commonly referred to as warehoused refugee populations. Most refugees will live in camps indefinitely until it is safe to return home. A few refugees will be allowed by a neighboring country to live as permanent residents. Less than 1% of refugees will be accepted for resettlement by another host country. The United States stands out as the world's leading acceptor of refugees, with an annual allotment designated by the President and Congress. The application process for refugee resettlement often takes years to complete. Once approved, refugees are directed from the Department of State Office of Refugee Resettlement to local specialized volunteer agencies that advocate for refugees and assist them in acclimation to a new American home.
It's not easy to move to new country. This is a challenge. A refugee, when they come in here, they don't know what's going on. They are really a blind person. They are scared. They don't have a trust. We have a lot of cases of this. They bring here all emotional things from overseas. They've been in camp, been in war situation. When they come in here, they are still living in this emotional issue. They say, how can I make it here? Usually I tell them, don't panic. Life here is easy. Step by step, you will be learning everything, but it's not overnight.
Organizations like Catholic Charities provide an avenue to resources for refugees entering Nashville. They offer hands-on assistance to refugees for the first 6 months of their stay. The United States Resettlement Program relies on these volunteer agencies to provide effective and coordinated services to refugees.
When the refugee got approved from overseas, usually I go to airport to get them, and we will take them to their house. And I will give them the key for apartment. The apartment is already set up. When they open the refrigerator, it's full of foods, which is, for most of refugees, they are so excited. They say, well, this place is my home. I say, yes, that's the key for your apartment. When the refugees are coming here, and they don't know what is in Nashville. But some people, they come in, hey, I don't see in this city, nobody, they don't walk in. Well, that's it. Everybody busy. Everybody have a car. Everybody got a job. Today, you walk in, but maybe 1 month, 2 months, also tell me, well, you driving? You don't walk in? When I got this opportunity to work with Catholic Charity, I was really excited. Personally, I want to work with some organization who's help refugees. I know what kind of service they need because I was a refugee. Every day I faced at least 2-3 different cultures. I have different population from Sudan, from Somalia, from Iran, from Iraq. They have different culture for everyone. And every single day I'm learning new things about their culture.
I came into the United States on March 1999, and I came with my wife and children. I would say, first of all, I have to be very thankful to God, number one. Secondly, I have to be very thankful to the United States government. The day I was told that you're going to be repatriated to another country, I didn't really know which country it was until later. And when I left from the camp and I came to Nashville, it was such joyful to see people going work, people driving their vehicle, and family living normal life. And it was kind of difficult. I was very overwhelmed at the beginning, really. I didn't know anything, so the only people I knew was the organization or the Catholic charity who was my sponsor. One time I thought maybe I need to go back to my camp. I had that anxiety, that worry that comes with an area or place that you don't know anybody. You're not very sure about the culture, and you're not sure what all kind of things that you need to establish your life.
Refugees resettled in the United States are granted legal permanent residence. They can apply for social services, access public education, and after 5 years, apply for full U.S. citizenship.
Thank you so much.
According to the Department of State, the policies of the U.S. government towards refugees reflect the best humanitarian traditions of the American people.
Thank you very much.
Our goal is for people to be self-sufficient, to be independent, to learn them how, when they got job, how they pay rent, how they pay electricity bill. We apply for food stamp, Medicaid, Social Security, register children to school. Also, at the same time, we encourage people to learn English as soon as possible to get a job. If you got a job, maybe you will have another opportunity to go to school. Usually I tell them, time is very expensive here. Don't waste your time. When you go to work, when you go to school, when you go to appointment, everything's time.
Getting that American dream, that is the freedom to live the way you want and be part of the community in the city I'm living, and to be very proud of people I work with. It has been very pleasant and joyful to be released mentally. How's your day? Was it good? Yeah. Okay. That a lot of stress that I had in the camp, that I no longer have to worry, such as security, my health, or the health of my family, and food, and shelter, and all those things that have given me a lot of thinking and worrying a lot of time. I don't have to stand in line to get the food that my family or I will be eating today. In a refugee camp, you have that life of standing in line, waiting your food, and you only have that option of that food. But here you don't. You have that option is in your hand. And I'm very joyful and happy seeing my kids going to public school, which I strongly believe is part of living in a community.
For refugees, coming to the United States is a relief from years of struggle. But they often must leave behind loved ones, friends, and relatives who will continue to face the hard living conditions and instability of a refugee camp. This separation is difficult for refugees, knowing their relatives are still facing insecurity. Once refugees arrive in the U.S., they can apply for parents, children, brothers, and sisters to resettle as well.
When a family comes into the United States, there's a process that you can apply for your family to be reunited. And I have the opportunity to file that application through the Catholic charity. When you fill that application, usually it takes for about, they said it was going to take about 2 years. I filed on that affidavit of relation in 1999 for my mother and my brother and sister. It took really a while to get family up here, and I think one of the reasons is probably what happened after on September 11, and that was really difficult. Knowing that they live in the camp, that which I have lived, and knowing that they live difficult situation in terms of daily life, in terms of security, in terms of health. It's always difficult living in that camp, and it was sad that there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of time. My mom will call me and tell me how the food ration they depend on is getting low and how their life is difficult. My mom and sister came over here finally on November 2006. Living in that refugee camp for that about 8 years has really, it given me more strength to think. It is something that every day when I live in here in Nashville reminds me that at the end I feel very thankful to what I have, because there's a time that I have learned in my life that has shown me being patient and being strong and being positive can make you survive.
With time, the lives of refugee families will be transformed as they immerse themselves in American culture. Children of refugees will adjust more quickly within the total immersion of their public education. Parents will have to strike a balance between the preservation of their former cultural heritage and the cultivation of a new identity. Together, refugee families will face a continuing journey.
You know, that's as a refugee, we are here. Our children grow up here. We are part of our children, and we also automatically we are part of this culture. We cannot isolate it from this culture, because if you, as an adult, maybe in somewhere you can be isolated, but your children, no, they really integrated to this culture. You also don't forget, you have to keep your culture. Don't forget your language. Tell your children speak in your language in home, because they go to school, they don't have a problem with that. But maybe sometimes, some days coming, they will forget their own mother language. My children sometimes they say, well, I'm American. Well, I'm proud you be American. But also, you have to know where you're coming from. You are Kurdish. That's good. Oh, that's good. I'm Kurdish, and I'm Kurdish American. I'm Kurdish and American.
Since their arrival to Nashville in 1999, Barre and his wife Shukri have both become U.S. citizens. Shukri has earned a teacher's certificate and is working with the Head Start program of Nashville. Barre lacks 1 year for a nursing degree. Upon completion, he plans to work as a nurse until he is accepted to medical school. In the future, Barre hopes to again work with Doctors Without Borders.
Living in Nashville has given me a lot of opportunity for me to, with my family, to live. And that is something to be very grateful and thankful to God and to the country or to the people who live in this country.
Nashville, City of Refuge, is made possible by the support of the HCA Foundation on behalf of HCA and the TriStar family of hospitals.